Looks good. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you what we've accomplished so far on this chassis and what we're about to do today. Okay, if y'all remember last time, we were discussing removing any body mount or bracket that only goes to the disco that won't be using anymore. So far we've removed the front body mounts. There's another set of mounts here for the front of the bulkhead on the disco one, and then there were some outriggers here that came out for the more body mounts. There was another set of outriggers here, and we've chopped off the rear quarter frame that we won't be using anymore. Gotten the shocks off of it. We're gonna be replacing those. Suspension bushings really look great. I'm not gonna do anything with those for now. We've also removed, what else have we removed? There were some other mounts in here. I can't remember what these went to. They were behind the transmission mounts. We've temporarily removed the transmission mounts just to clean up the frame. We're going to be reusing those. Sway bar's gone. The V8 engine mount's gone. We've just thrown a little primer over everything we've been working on so far just to keep it from flash rusting. We're gonna clean up the frame real good when we're done and put a nice fresh coat of semi-gloss black on it. So today, I think we're ready. We're gonna be doing some measuring between this bracket and this bracket. Those are going to still be on, those match the Defender. They're the same brackets. The chassis are so similar. I believe all we got to do is make the length between, the distance between them, make them match the D90 we got in the garage by cutting out part of this frame here. And we'll talk about that more in a second. So let's roll this thing over here to the garage, and we're going to start making some marks on the frame where we're going to section it. Okay. When we divide this frame, what we're gonna do, instead of just cutting it straight across, top to bottom, to make a much stronger, weld, I guess, make a much stronger repair or splice back together, we're going to be cutting it at a 45-degree angle. I'm gonna mark both sides using this carpenter's triangle here once we figure out how much we need to take out. But yeah, we'll be cutting it at an angle, not just straight across. Cutting it at an angle and welding it back together is gonna be a lot stronger than as if we just cut it straight across like that. And then in addition to welding it back together, on the inside of the frame where you won't see it, we're going to weld a fish plate, which is basically just a second layer of frame. Probably going to cut it into like a diamond shape here or an oval, and it's going to cover the welded section. It's going to overlap it and extend the welds and extend the metal to either side of that. That'll really reinforce this, and that'll really reinforce the frame where we've welded it back together. And hopefully shouldn't have any problems with the frame. It probably wouldn't need the fish plate, being that it's just a stamped steel frame. It's not heat treated, it doesn't flex anyways. Okay, back in the garage, this is the chassis we're going to be replacing. You can obviously see why it's done. It's completely rusted out. So what we're going to be doing for referencing for a reference point on both these chassis, we're going to be measuring from the front of the front control arm bracket to the rear of the rear control arm bracket. So you can see the Defender is about 30 1/4, maybe just a hair. So 1, 2, 3/8, 30 3/8. That's about as close as we can get. 30 3/8 is the length between these 2 points. Now let's go outside. Now let's go back outside and measure the Disco chassis. All right, now let's measure the Disco chassis. We're going to compare the two, figure out how much we need to take out from the frame. And this one comes out to exactly in the same spot on these control arm brackets to 37 3/8. 37 3/8. 1, 2, 3, yeah. All right, so we got 37 3/8. So what we need to take out is exactly 7 inches. Okay, now I've got my marks on the frame. They are the same angles. I don't know why the camera makes it look weird, but they're both 45-degree angles. I'm going to cut most of the first one with a cutoff wheel. I'm probably gonna cut everything but the top. Then I'm gonna remeasure and make sure that this line is where it needs to be before I make the second cut, because this is my only chance. If I make the frame too short, kind of screwed. It's better to have it long. I could cut it twice if I needed to. Okay, I made the majority of this first cut, and just an example of measure twice, cut once. Remeasured from this cut to where I initially made the other mark for this end, and it was off by about 1/4 of an inch already. Just because the thickness of the blade and which side of the line I cut on, I knew I was probably gonna cut it wrong, but that's not a problem, because now I can remeasure it and put the 7-inch mark down here in the correct spot. Okay, I don't know if you can see that or not, but this time I made the line exactly 7 inches. I did it in pencil, so it's a little finer line than that chalk I was using. That line's 7 inches from the last cut. So what I want to do is cut just to this side, cut to the inside of that line, and it should create a 7-inch gap here. All right, well, we made the cuts. If anything, I made them just a hair shorter than 7 inches, because I figure after I do a little grinding and sanding to make the ends match up perfect, we're probably gonna be right at 7 inches. We'll make sure with the tape measure before we weld anything back together. But anyway, I wanted to show y'all, you never know what's on the inside of these frames, if they're rusty or not. I think we got really lucky with this one. Just some surface rust. I mean, that's the top, but here I'll show you the bottom. The other one had a pretty impressive rat's nest in it. But here's the bottom. That's about as rust-free as one of these Land Rover chassis can be from 1997. So I think when in the end result, we're gonna have a really nice chassis for this Defender. Okay, as you can see, I got it back together, or at least got the two ends pushed together. I just temporarily screwed down a couple of little pieces of metal on top of the frame. See, that frame rail's not lining up just yet. I've got to do a little wiggling on that. But I've pulled it together pretty much as far as it's going to go together, just because the cuts aren't perfect. You know, there ends up being like a little 1/8 inch gap in spots, which actually is good for welding. I'll be able to get pretty good penetration because of that. I've measured the length between our points of reference here, and I've gotten exactly 30 inches and 3/8. That was exactly what we were shooting for. So as soon as I can get both frame ends evened up and make sure that they're square with each other and the frame is not shaped like a banana or anything like that, then we're going to clean up these ends and start welding it back together. All right, well, after a lot of adjusting, a lot more grinding, a lot more measuring, we finally got the wheelbase correct and welded the frame back together all the way around. Kind of running out of daylight today, so I'm gonna shoot a little primer over these welds and come back tomorrow and we'll cover the fish plates on the inside of the frame. Okay, day 2 of the frame shortening project. We've done, we've shortened the frame, we welded it back together, checked to make sure everything's square, measurements are correct the way we wanted them. All that's good. Right now we're gonna move on to the fish plates. I'm not gonna do them on the outside. I don't think it really needs them to begin with, but I'm gonna put them on the inside of the frame rails where they really won't be seen. And we've got this large rear quarter frame section. I think I'm going to be able to cut them out of this. So I'm gonna mark that up. I'm probably gonna cut them into like a diamond shape, something that would spread the weld out over the frame, or actually, you know, directly over this other weld. All right, I should be able to use this triangle to square this up, and I'm going to mark around the perimeter of it so I can grind the paint off. I'm going to grind a little bit of the weld that's already on the frame down, just so this thing can lay a little flatter. This doesn't have to be perfect. I'm just trying to get a rough idea where to clean up so I can put the weld down. And after I clean this up, this will be ready to weld on here over that weld to reinforce it. All right, well now we got the fish plates on. Those look good, welds are good, no pinholes or anything like that in those. I'd consider those done. So I think we're pretty much finished with the frame shortening. The next video will be on the Defender build. It'll be part 2 to that. We're going to be pulling the drivetrain out of the Defender over there and start mocking up the front engine mounts. So we'll put the rear engine mounts in, bolt it back in, because it goes in the existing spot. Nothing changes back here. Really what we got to do is cut the old 200 TDI engine mounts off the rusted chassis. We're going to bring them over here, bolt them to the engine, lower down in, and tack them onto the frame. And then we'll pull the whole drivetrain back out again, finish welding the engine mounts in. We're going to shorten the front frame horns. The Disco front horns are about 2 inches too long, which is fine because we're gonna have to change the way the bolt holes are oriented anyway. So we'll cut it down. We'll sleeve the frame where the Defender bolt holes are gonna go, and that'll be done. We got to put front fender mounts, radiator support, and then we're probably going to start sanding and cleaning up all the work we've done so far. So the frame will be cleaned up from the front frame horns all the way back to the rear coils. We're going to paint all that so it's finished and put the drivetrain back in it. And then we'll start putting the body on it and making sure we got the outriggers where they need to be. They're all lined up. We'll finish welding those on. And once we get to the back tub, and once the tub is lined up with the doors, and the doors lined up with the bulkhead, and the bulkhead's lined up with the front fenders, we should be able to weld the rear quarter section on exactly where it goes. And then probably pull the rear tub off, clean up welds, paint the rear quarter section of the frame, paint around where we just welded the outriggers on, and the chassis will be finished at that point. At that point, we'll be able to start final assembly, painting. It's got a list that goes on and on and on and on. It seems like a lot. It should go pretty fast, a lot faster than all the rust repairs on the bulkhead went. Those took forever. So that concludes this video. Y'all like and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 2 of the Defender build.